G'day, Simon here, Explosive Action. We are back and we're going to take another tour of the man cave. It's been about 8 months or so since I last did one and some things have changed, so let's take a look. So this is the entrance to the cave, the media room, the man cave. Has some Seagal posters now on the side there. And the first shelf we get to is pretty much all my British comedy, TV series, Australian comedies, a few American comedies. Big fan of this stuff. I don't usually talk about it too much, but always got some time for 70s and 80s British comedy. This little rack here, this is all the Mediaboooks and a few Blu-rays and DVDs for, I sort of put this as my classic 80s kids stuff. You know, all the movies I used to watch as a kid. So yeah, that's this corner. So this room is obviously the garage, so there's tools and things in it as well, but here is a new shelf that was put in today. This replaces the old cupboard, the cupboard of doom, as it has been called in the past, which was falling apart. So I have a nice new cupboard here. I can show my Japanese VHS. Nice and easy, 3 stack there. They all fit in perfectly well. These tubs here contain DVDs and things that don't need to be shown, but things that I want to keep. So, you know, there's, you know, old Simpsons box sets and things like that. They live in there. Get them out when I need to. And bottom 2 shelves are, of course, more records. This is one of my favorite corners of the room. This is the old LPs and favorite records section. So, starting all these ones down here, this is pretty much all original pressing records from 80s, early 90s. No reissues, no modern things. This is just all the old school stuff. The best thing though is this cube on top where I put my absolute favorite 80s, 70s, 90s pressings. So all the good stuff in here, all my favorites. Some old Asphyx, some old Dissection. These are all original pressings. Old Morbid Angel, you get the drift. All my favorites in there. 7 inches, I don't have many 7 inches, so not that many to talk about, but they go in there. And these are the CDs that are non-metal, which is, as you can see, not my primary focus. So some dark ambient and progressive rock stuff, that all goes in there. And the printer I use for work and for putting DVD covers, CD covers together when I do my own stuff. And in the cupboard down there with the cool posters on it is postage supplies and record cleaning stuff. So this is the main backdrop that you see in most of my videos, and you can see it's got all my audio gear as well as Blu-rays and movies. If you take a look at the movies that you see up here, this is pretty much the Blu-rays and some DVDs for anything up to around about 1989 in the horror genre. So I decided a while ago to stop arranging everything by label and by spine number, with very few exceptions. So A to Z mixed labels of 80s, mostly horror. Obviously Greasy Strangler there is not, but it fits in nicely. And then my CDs that overflow from the main CD racks, they go on there. You can see on the side here from the new rack I put some of my box sets, Japanese VHS shining through. Nice new rack. May not be its final form, but certainly going to be doing its job for a while. I've got 2 turntables now, which makes me some kind of DJ. But this one I got over Christmas was my parents' turntable. My mum's in particular. She no longer wanted such a big machine. She wanted to get something modern. And she gave me this one back, so really happy to get this one. Pioneer PL71 direct drive that goes along with my PL514X belt drive, and I got some new records on top there which will go into the next update. This is all my gear here for listening to music, all modern 90s era Pioneer matched stuff in black, and this is where A to Z of my records begin for anything that is not original press. This is where the CDs and the cassettes are. I've got a few of these cassette drawers which which may take you back if you remember the drawers we had in the 80s. I think these are pretty much those. I found these all over the last year or so from Facebook Marketplace. People were just throwing these things away really cheaply. Down here I have put most of the Vinegar Syndrome together of the horrors. The action ones are in the action section, but their slips are just so nice that it makes a nice little collection, so I've left them as they are. And these are the CDs, as I mentioned. So this is pretty much everything from L through to S, I think. This is a three-sided CD thing, so if I want to get to the ones on the left, I've got to just roll it out. It's on wheels, not too hard. It goes down the right there as well if I need to roll it out. And on top I've got my little Japanese corner here where I've got Godzilla, Mothra, the Yokai Monsters, Daijin, Gamera. I've got Zatoichi, Voyage into Space, which is a new edition, and very well protected by the man in front. These racks here are the comedies. I'm not hugely big on straight comedy films, so that's why this section is not that big. I don't usually look into new comedy films, so it's pretty much older stuff that I've grown up with, or there's a handful of things in here that are newer, but it's fairly rare for me to find a pure comedy that I actually enjoy that I've not seen before. So that's the comedy section. So this is my working corner. I usually work from home, so this is where I do it. Two-screen setup and the work laptop. Home computer's underneath there as well. And lots of knickknacks and things on the desk here. Some Mad Balls, you remember them. And some really cool posters there in the background. My absolute favourite is my glass framed Robo War. I think it was a Greek poster. A few others behind. Got a Mausoleum, Humanoid. I was recently given Kill or Be Killed and Challenger, so I'm very happy to have those ones up there. This shelf here, I'm a big Doctor Who fan, but got some Stargate stuff on top. This is all the Doctor Who classic series up to 1989. Got the new Blu-ray box sets as well. Going down the bottom here, those two boxes are VCDs, my video CD collection, and the box on top of there is all my Tarantino films. They all happen to fit into a box, so I just put them into a box. And I've got some books down there on the bottom. So right behind me in my working area is the action DVDs part 1, as well as the CDs part 1. On top of the CD shelf here I've got all my Dead films, the Dawn of the Dead box, Night, Day, a few of the remakes, and then I chucked Evil Dead Army Darkness on the end there. Just a place to put all those things together and get a few figurines. You have Flyboy and the Plaid Zombie, and got these little guys here at the front from Frankenstein's Army. Very cool. And yes, these are the action Blu-rays and DVDs. You can see it's very well piling to the top, Tetris style. So I put some of the VSA, Vinegar Syndrome action films there. We've got sort of Blaxploitation on the right there. A to Z of Blu-ray starting here. Goes into Z and then onto, I've made a Teddy Page section. Please go watch my Teddy Page documentary, that's totally a plug. And it goes into War. I have a War section, Blu-ray and then DVD, and then it's on to A to Z DVDs for general action films. Well, directly opposite that is the other side of the action shelf. We start off the very top with some box sets and some series that all go together. You can see some sets up there. Bit of American Ninja there on the right. And then it starts off with, I've loosely ordered these by the caliber of the action star. So I've put Arnold Schwarzenegger and Stallone in first place, the Van Damme section, going into Dolph Lundgren's section, Steven Seagal's, and it just goes on and on. Scott Adkins, he's got quite the section now, and it goes down further and we get into the Gary Daniels and Cynthia Rothrock and a whole bunch of other people, Don the Dragon Wilson. So yeah, that's the action section. To the left of that is the science fiction and fantasy section. We start at the top with, again, some series I've all put together. So there's all the Star Wars and Matrix films, Robocop, all that kind of stuff. Star Trek things. Then it goes into Sci-Fi Channel. I love my Sci-Fi Channel films, particularly the earlier films going up to around about 2010 or so. That's pretty much the best period, I think, late 90s through to 2010. And I've got them in order of release with these films. Then it goes into Asylum films. I'm a sucker for these generally fairly bad films. And yeah, pretty much all the ones that you can get around here at least I've got. And below that is I've got Dragon films. I have enough Dragon films to give them their own little section. Sword and sorcery films, and then sort of classic sci-fi, so you know, 50s science fiction and that kind of thing. And then A to Z in just general sci-fi films. And it is behind the couch, so I've got to move it out a bit. Bit of annoyance, but yeah, you got to do what you got to do. I've got to take a big step back for this one because this is the main horror section. This wall here represents all the modern horror films. That's pretty much how I've organized this one, for the most part anyway. So we start at the top, and I've got a lot of series that I've put together. You get a general gist of it as you're going through it, but beneath that is box sets, which are not all modern, but I need a place to put the big box sets. So I did have some monster pictures all grouped together because it made sense. Then I've got a few labels here that are ordered, but not really necessary. I may A to Z them soon enough. From about here going back is shot on video films, so late 80s and 90s shot on video films. And then here's pretty much the extreme gore section with lots of crazy stuff from Olaf Ittenbach and yeah, a whole bunch of others. Pretty gory stuff. Then just goes into A to Z modern horror, so anything basically 1990s onwards goes here. So there's a lot of 2000s and 2010 era films. Then it goes into DVD and repeats that going down. So yeah, lots of horror films. Down here is, and it's surprising that it's so little, but Blu-ray has really replaced them. This one here, and this one here, and this one here is the 80s and earlier horror films that are not in classic horror territory, so pretty much 70s and 80s only on DVD, which means I've upgraded a lot to Blu-ray. Down the bottom here, got a little Stephen King section, and then we go into Hammer horror films, lots of Hammer, Amicus films, related things, Tygon Pictures, and ends with a Hitchcock box set, Guarded by Machete. Also worth calling out, I've got a dedicated post-apocalyptic section. There's so many of the things, and you know, are they action? Are they sci-fi? Are they horror? They're usually a mix of everything. They're post-apocalyptic films, so they get their own section. Speaking of Schwarzenegger, I decided to watch Red Heat, so there he is on the screen. But next to him at the moment, where his gun is pointing, I've got some sort of classic franchises here, Guarded by Pinhead. He used to talk, I don't think he does anymore. But I got a few sort of complete series here, Nightmare on Elm Street, Exorcist, Omen, Scream. Then Universal Horrors boxes, Child's Play series, all the Halloween films, all the Friday the 13th films. This section here is pretty much all the Euro horrors. So Giallos, that's all in here. Italian horror films, that's all in here. It's a really cool section I've been managing to put together here. All the Argento and Fulci, all of that is in here. All the Blu-rays, DVDs. I've left some in label order just because I could. Some Arrow, some 88, some Mondo, some Spanish films of course, Cinema Obscura, and a few box sets at the bottom. Very much like having this section, and this is one of the main reasons I wanted to split up my labels into categories, because it just made more sense having some of the Italian horror separate from, you know, 2010 horror films. They're so different. And I've got here some of the Vinegar Syndrome box sets, the Forgotten Jarly and the Camille Keaton ones all together, and then the Eurocrime box sets I've got next to it, and a bit of Killer Crocodile on top. The reason we've got Eurocrime, but of course we go beneath the more cassette drawers, I have a Eurocrime section here, which is really cool. Another one I wanted to add next to the Euro horrors. So yeah, all the Policia films there in here, and then it goes into spaghetti westerns. Then down on the bottom we sort of get the start of, I guess you can call it the overflow. I don't know what to do with things like, you know, general drama, general thriller films. So, you know, where do you put Apollo 13? Well, it goes into a section like this. And that thriller drama section follows on to the reverse side of this stand. One section I'm really happy with is the loosely grouped Asian section. As you can see, the Eastern Eye banner I've got up the front there, which is pretty much what all of this is here, all the Eastern Eye titles that I've accumulated, which is a large proportion of them. There's a separate video on that you can go watch if you want. Put together a year or two ago. And yeah, all the Eastern Eye titles I've got together. Then it goes into some others that are related, like Tartan Asian Extreme, and then just some sort of general J horror and K horror films down the bottom. So the top of this big shelf is the Eastern Eye box sets and a few Arrow box sets, followed by a bunch of Blu-rays that are not really related in any way, mostly modern films, a couple of older ones in there as well. I do have a little section here for all these weirdo calamari wrestler and executive koala films that Minoru Kawasaki put together. He needed his own section. But anyway, over here we've got the Takeshi Miike films I've got. I've got a few series I've grouped together of Black Cat, Mr. Vampire, those things. Got a bit of a Category 3 section going on here. Some of the new Blu-rays, Erotic Ghost Story, and Robotrix, Riki-Oh, and then some of my older releases. Behind that, sort of the rest of the legendary titles and the Hong Kong legends. So this is double stacked, so I've got to pull things out. This here is pretty much mostly Shaw Brothers and classic Hong Kong action films. It's a great little section. This is Shaw Brothers all double stacked. You can see the DVDs behind the 88 Blu-rays here. And I have just recently got in the new Shawscope box set from Arrow, so you'll see that in another video soon. Got a few box sets here from Criterion and Eureka. And yeah, these are the sort of girls with guns films and you know, bullet ballet type films. They all end up in there. Here we've got Jet Li and Jackie Chan. Got so many of them now, they get their own section, particularly Jackie Chan. And so many good titles and releases coming out from 88 and Eureka especially. There's also some other ones here from Eureka I've put on, from sort of Sammo Hung, and a few other of their Hong Kong films I've put in this section as well. Below that we get a stack here of sort of Hong Kong action collections. For a lot of it, some little sets here. We've got the Basher box, the Fist of Fury as well, Fist of Fear, Touch of Death I should say, a couple of the old Code Red DVD collections, and these sort of not really authorized but very cool releases from Cinemasploitation they were doing, which were sort of custom 35mm scans of some pretty rare Hong Kong films, but they seem to have gone out of business. And then I've got books and magazines and a bottle of J&B. Well, as much as I've shrunk down my VHS section over the years, I still have the Carousel, and it still squeaks. It's great stuff. Pretty much up top here we've got a lot of David Pryor films. Deadly Prey, Chase, Rapid Fire, Final Sanction, great film. Then just sort of my best of VHS that aren't the Japanese tapes. So some mostly Australian tapes, Evil Alter, Demon Warp. Seriously, Demon Warp and Bells. These films need Blu-rays, and I think Vinegar Syndrome should be doing them. I digress. Other cool stuff here, we've got Brutal Sorcery, incredibly rare tapes, Special Silences, Rage of Vengeance, incredibly rare, Space Chase. You get the idea. This is just all my favorite VHS. One of my latest ones I picked up, Hunter's Crossing, for my Teddy Page films. Great stuff like Twin Dragon Encounter, including Dragon Hunt. Very, very hard tapes to find. So yes, my favorite VHS in the carousel. So what's beneath this copy of Real Ghoul 2? This is my LaserDiscs. No real order in here, and there's not that many. I only keep sort of things that are not on DVD, or the DVD is incredibly hard to get. And also I've got a pretty good little selection here of Hong Kong films. Some of my favorite Hong Kong films are not on DVD, like this guy, Tough Beauty and the Sloppy Slop. What a great name. So yeah, I do have a good little LaserDisc selection. Power Connection, Angel on Fire, Angel Terminator 2. You get the gist. I like my LaserDiscs. Take a look at the video gear that I use here. We've got, as you can see, the Oppo logo bouncing around on the screen as a screensaver, which means I have an Oppo Blu-ray player. This was the 205, I think it was, from memory. Australian release that I put in a mod chip myself, so it plays everything. Over here we've got a Sony VCD player, plays only video CDs. Comes in handy, and I think video CDs look better on this than they do on the Oppo, so I like using it. Little Super Nintendo Mini above that. Going down here we've got big fat PlayStation 2 that I've been playing recently with an original Xbox below it. But more importantly over here, Sony VCR. This is the EZ2000S, which is a really cool machine. Some of the best video quality I've ever seen in the VCR, but they are very finicky machines, very, very finicky, and do break quite easily, so I've got a stash of them. Below that I've got the CLD D925 LaserDisc player, which is my go-to for LaserDiscs. I think that's pretty much the tour. You've seen everything that I've got in this room. If there's anything you want to see in detail, as I've said in my previous videos, my previous man cave tours, just let me know and we'll see what we can do about it. But that's all for this time. If you liked this video, please like, subscribe, check out this thing, or is it this thing? I'm not too sure which way I'm pointing, but do check them out, and thanks for watching.